Hello there. Hello, Kenny. Thank you for inviting us to present our presentation from this year's conference in Vienna in Schönbrunn. Manfred Edlinger is our cultivation person, our head gardener of the so-called hothouse, including some great collections like begonias, philodendron, as well as the carnivorous plants in all its range. We will present them later. I'm Daniel Rohrauer. I'm the head of the Institute of Botanical Collections of the Austrian Federal Gardens in Vienna. We are an institute that belongs to the Ministry of Agriculture. So we are in the public services, and our job is to cultivate the historical botanical collections that were started more than 450 years ago. And this is also our main topic since 2019. We say we celebrated our 450 year anniversary and started this like wording that plant collection since 1569. And I will now shortly give you a brief overview of our history and what collections we have here in Vienna. And then Manfred will go into the details with the carnivorous plants. Yeah, where did the ICPS conference 2024 take place? The preparations started in 2022 when the German GFP, the Society of Carnivorous Plants in Middle Europe started to prepare their 40-year anniversary. So we had then in the end, the first question was if we want to host the 40-year celebration of the Carnivorous Plant Society in Middle Europe. And we said, yeah, of course, we are honored to welcome them here in Schönbrunn in the Orangerie that you can see here, the building of the Orangerie, in the back, the castle of the Palace of Schönbrunn. And then during the preparations, it developed that we could also host the ICPS 2024. And then it was a great thing to have both things here in Vienna. We had a great conference with more than 180 participants. We had a nice side program at the typical Viennese vineyard, like Heuriger, and also with a nice dinner. And here inside in the Orangerie, you can see a photo where the exhibitors also presented their plants and also sold a lot. This was accessible to the public. So I think in the end, all 3 days, there were more than 4,500 people visiting the public part and 200 people in the conference. And I think the organizers, the Austrian Federal Gardens, the German Society of Carnivorous Plants, as well as the ICPS, were quite pleased that it all went so fine. So going back in history, why do we say that Austrian Federal Gardens started the botanical collections in 1569? He was the reason. This is the Emperor Maximilian II. He brought the Roman Empire to a very successful period. He was a very intelligent, clever man, and he wanted to start a big collection typical for Renaissance that was called the Kunst- und Wunderkammer. There is no English word for it. We already looked through dictionaries and we're wondering that also in English it is Kunst- und Wunderkammer. So everything that was interesting from nature, also curiositas, was collected. It included a library and it also included curiosita. So for example, the unicorn horn that later was found out that it is from a whale species, was collected as a curiosita. And here you see a picture of the biggest Kunst- und Wunderkammer of the time here in Vienna. And when this building was finished in 1569, there were also living plants collected. You can see here in the back a big garden. So part of the collections were living plants and living animals. And this also attracted the most famous botanist of his time. You can see here in the middle Carolus Clusius, Charles de Éclusset, who spent several years in Vienna because over Vienna many plants were brought to Europe at that time, for example, the tulip or the chestnut. In the upper picture, you can see how Schönbrunn looked at this time. So the palace grounds of Schönbrunn were bought also or as well in 1569. So we have two happenings in this year that are important to us. And we say at this time, the modern systematical collection of plants was started here in Vienna by the Caesar. We have an ongoing history. I will really jump now through the centuries. This is Schönbrunn around 1800. 1800, Franz I is emperor, Roman emperor. Maria Theresia is better known, I think, also in America as the wife of the Caesar. And they built Schönbrunn up as we know it today. And important part of the whole palace garden here in Schönbrunn, here you have the palace, is of course the orangerie, but because the orangerie has too little space, also a botanical garden is started. This is here in the west of Schönbrunn. It's the so-called Dutch Botanical Garden because most gardeners at this time were from the Netherlands, and the Viennese then called the garden Dutch Botanical Garden. And here you have a picture. There are many greenhouses here on the outside around. Also small greenhouses with little height that are built into the ground, and many beddings where plants from all regions of the world were cultivated. And the aim was to get always new plants, to get plants that no person ever saw before. Here you have a picture of Franz I, Stephan von Lothringen. Here a better, higher resolution plan map of the Dutch Botanical Garden. And here a view into the greenhouse. Like this is here in this orangerie kind building. And here the big plants are cultivated. And to get more plants, to develop the collections, expeditions were sent out into the world. You can see here the front map of Chacun's expedition to America, the Selectarum Stirpium Americanum here, with indigenous people and plants that were collected, like here Zingiberaceae, Costus, and probably also some carnivorous plants that already Chacun brought, but for Manfred
later, yes.
Manfred will come to this later. Yeah, so many plants were brought to Schönbrunn over the centuries. Schönbrunn plant collection was always entirely there for the Caesar. Like it was private property of the Roman emperor. And when Napoleon went over Europe, then for the Austrian Caesar. And just to show you here some highlights out of the plant collections, we, for example, have here the oldest in a pot cultivated succulent plant in the world. It was brought to Schönbrunn latest in 1799. We guess it is about 500 years old, and 225 of this 500 years, it is growing in the greenhouses here in Schönbrunn. So it was in the greenhouses when Napoleon lived in Schönbrunn. It survived World War I, World War II, and I always point out that it also survived more than 24 of generations of gardeners. That is also a bit a luck, because one heating or one watering mistake could bring the end of a succulent plant quite easily. We also have many pelargoniums that also came to Schönbrunn during the same period, like the Phocaea over here. I didn't mention it. This oldest pot plant is a Phocaea capensis. It's a Asclepidaceae. Later, from an expedition to Brazil by Austrian gardeners, also many arids were brought here, and the species, like the genus name Philodendron, as well as Dieffenbachia, was firstly described by a gardener here in Schönbrunn in the first half of the 19th century. And around 1900, we had a very successful breeder of plants. Manfred will also get back to him later. Because of this, I show here something different. Like, he was breeding Sarracenias, but he was also breeding, more successful than Sarracenias, orchids, especially Cattleyas, that were then, the Cattleya sorts were then sold even to Britain for very, very high price. And the Caesar here in Austria made good money with the products that his gardeners were growing here in Schönbrunn. Another overview of the greenhouses in the Dutch Botanical Garden. This you saw before in black and white. This is a print that is not belonging to us. Because of this, we have it in very low quality. Like this, it looked long ago, around 1800. And like this, it looks nowadays. It is now used as a cafe and as a library for the Zoo of Vienna. There were also other places where greenhouses were established during the Caesaral times. Of course, here at Hofburg in the Vienna city center, Schönbrunn was the summer palace, and the main palace, the winter palace, was Hofburg in the first district of Vienna. And one of the oldest pictures that exists is showing here in the background. You can see the Hofburg as it is still nowadays there. This here is so-called Josephinian building, where now there is the National Library located. And here on the roof of the building, you can see Franz II, the emperor that is then after Mother Teresa, with his family. And here you see gardeners working, a greenhouse, plants in high beddings, and like it is quite small, but when you look here, you even see 2 apes, and here in the voliere birds. So still, everything that was beautifully blossoming at this time in Schönbrunn was brought to Hofburg and presented to the Caesar. When this needed to be rebuilt, this historical greenhouse that is not existing anymore was in Burggarten. The Burggarten is so famous for Vienna because it was during Caesaral times the so-called Kaisergarten, the Caesaral garden, that was opened to the public only in 1918 after the Caesar left Vienna, left Austria, and the Austrian monarchy was over. And this greenhouse is still accessible, or is since 1918 accessible till today. So where are the botanical collections nowadays? One place where we grow parts of our plant collections is in Belvedere. In Belvedere Garden in the 3rd district, there is the big gallery. The picture gallery of the Austrian Republic is the oldest Alp garden in the world. But behind the Alp garden, there is an not accessible, to the public accessible greenhouse area where we have a focus on Bromeliaceae, Capensis, and New Holland. So all plants from Australia, South Africa, and the family of Bromeliaceae. And here you can see the propagation of Ericas. We are in a close cooperation with Kirstenbosch Botanical Gardens in South Africa. And this is the view into the Capensis greenhouse. Short overview. Then we have greenhouses in Augarten. The Augarten originally was meant to provide especially cut flowers and fruits for the Hofburg, for the Caesar, and is nowadays used for mainly hardy plants, like hardy shrubs and plants, herbs and Stauden. Okay, no, like the shrubs are like wooden plants and the other things, and also solitaire plants from Australia. This you can see here. We have some Banksias that are 3 meters tall, and they would be too big for Belvedere. So Augarten and Belvedere cooperate very closely. And you can see down here, historical photo of 1897 of the palm house in Augarten. And this is nowadays freshly renovated in 2016 from the inside. And this is this building here on the mapping overview. The main center of the botanical collection nowadays is still in Schönbrunn. The Dutch Botanical Garden unfortunately doesn't exist anymore. In this area is now an arboretum and the palm house that you will see later. Here you can see in the background the orangery, so close to the orangery in the 1960s. The Botanical Collections were newly built. These greenhouses here is about 6,000 square meter greenhouse area. Some historical photos from the last 50 years. Here you can see the orchids that were bred by Hefka. We also started an Alp garden in the Alps, in close to Vienna, and here a palm that is transported from the palm house that was hit by a bomb during World War II in April 1945, shortly before the end of World War II, and we lost quite many plants and the glasses, and it was then quite quickly rebuilt. Here you see the palm house nowadays from the outside, here from the inside. Close to the palm house is the so-called desert house, also a display house to the public, like palm house and desert house are one of the few greenhouses of the botanical collections where you can access when you are visiting Vienna and not knowing us. Yeah. So this is another short overview or a brief overview of the places where plant collections are grown. Palm house, you see here, orangerie, Reservegarten. I forgot to mention, or we always cut out a bit, that we also have a small greenhouse in Innsbruck. You can see here the mountains in the background. So also Innsbruck has a small botanical collection. So what plants do we collect? First of all, we have to mention the arids that are also grown and taken care of by Manfred. It is one of his groups, families that are in the hothouse. The arids are a very important collection for us since Schott, who was in 1820s in Brazil. And he also made a still valid classification of the arids, and he also described here Philodendron diffenbachia and Caladium, for example. So for us, this is really a very important plant group. We also have Asian plants that need sour soil, like sour. Low pH, camellias and rhododendron. Some plants are older than 120 years, and we still grow them, pre-grow them in greenhouses to show them in the palm house in January and February. Again, in the hothouse, tropical begonias. Here, short overview of some leaf structures of species and sorts of begonias that are growing in Schönbrunn. This is a view into the hothouses. You can see here also the orchids, tropical ferns, here different kinds of tropical palms, arids, and you can see really here in the photos in the greenhouses that are not accessible to the public. We use every square centimeter to stuff plants somewhere in the hall, up every square centimeter is used to collect plants. Already shown before with the Belvedere, Bromeliaceae, with all different kinds of Tillandsias and other bromelias. Important since Chacun, the different cycads, all the Cycadae are also in the hothouse. Manfred is the main grower of plants. And the oldest cycads that we have were brought here by Chacun in the 18th century. And we guess them also that they are 500, 400 years of age. Yeah, Capensis, some different plants like Cuspermum, Hemanthus, Ericas, Ixia, many bulbs are grown in the Capensis collection in Belvedere. New Holland plants, like plants from Australia, there we go then on to Epacris, Acacias, Banksia, Grevillea, Hakea here on the right. The big collection of orchids, mainly from South America, Caribbean, and Middle America, and Africa. Like the Asian species are mainly grown in the botanical garden of the University of Vienna. So we also have here a partner, and we really distribute the species and the original location of the plants to have a main focus and especially use our plant efficient. Yeah, big collection is also cactus and other succulent plants. Also, it was started mainly by the collections that were brought here from South Africa again. Like there is also the Phocaea, the oldest in a pot cultivated plant, part of this collection. And here we have different cacti, blossoms, and here's some succulents in the middle, mainly Euphorbia. Big collection that has a long tradition is also the Stapelias. Yeah, and the oldest building and the oldest collection is the collection of orangerie plants. We have many historical citrus sorts and all the classical orangerie sortiment, and this we know like that this is dating back to 1569 when the first citrus species and plants that are known from the Mediterranean region were cultivated as an important part of a Baroque garden. So these are really the oldest part of our collection. So with the last slide, I think I quickly jump. Yeah, is this already your slide? Or is our sharing slide? Yeah, and of course the carnivorous plants. This was my part of the presentation as the main leader and representative of the botanical collections. I want to bore you now with some hard facts. Like you already know that we have plant collections since 1569. At the moment, we have about 17,770 plant species and sorts in cultivation in the greenhouses, as well as in the arboretum and the Alpgarden. Altogether, there are about 150,000 plant pots, like pots with plants in cultivation. And altogether, we have about 28,000 square meters of area under glass. Like this is only the area that we have in the greenhouse. And on top of it, we have the Alpine garden and the arboretum. So, Manfred, it's yours.
Okay, then I will start with my part of the presentation. As you can see, the last group is the Carnivorous Plants collection. And we start with the history of the collection here in Schönbrunn. The guy you see here on the left side is Nicolas Joseph Freiherr von Chacun. Freiherr, he was become later then, after he showed a good work for the imperial family. Chacun himself was a Dutchman, comes to Vienna through family relations, I would say. The head doctor of Maria Theresia, the big empress, was Gerard van Swieten, and both families, van Swietens and the Chacins, were befriended with each other, and they managed it that Chacin come to Vienna. This was a little bit in need for the family of Chacin because there were some problems and troubles. But he managed to get a job here in Vienna. But it was a thing vice versa. He had to do something for this job, and they sent them really quick to the Caribbeans. And in 1754, they sent him to the Caribbeans. He started an exhibition there, collecting plants, and on this journey, he found also an Carnivorous plant. The first we know, which is described in context with the collections here in Vienna. And you can see a picture of this plant here on the right side. All the Carnivorous enthusiasts will surely recognize it. It's Utricularia alpina. He described it in his great work as Utricularia montana. He found it in Martinique, in hilly area in grassland, moist grassland, and because it was a hilly area, he called it montana. The picture you see here on the right side is out of his great book, which he has written after he returned here to Vienna in 1763. And it's also interesting, at this time, he has no clue that this plant is carnivorous, because Darwin has not made his great book at this time. But he found the plant interesting and beautiful, and so he was interested in this plant. Unfortunately, this plant didn't arrive in Vienna. Minimum not alive. We don't have any records of the plant in our inventories. The next plants which arrived here in Vienna were from South Africa. And you can see here on the left side a shadow image of a quite important guy here in Schönbrunn. This is Franz Boos. Franz Boos was a gardener here in Vienna, and he was sent to South Africa with another gardener, Georg Scholl. Boos was not that long in South Africa. He traveled further to Réunion and other islands. And Scholl was quite a long time in South Africa. Scholl did a journey starts in 1785, and Scholl returned to Vienna in 1799. And the old plant, this old Bouquet capensis, which you have seen before, is one of the plants he brought back here to Vienna. The problem was a little bit that the transport with the ship back to Vienna doesn't happen that quickly. It's also a problem because the huge amount of plants he collected in all this time, in 14 years in South Africa. But sometimes he was able to send little parts of the collected plants, mainly seeds and also bulbs. And with one of these sendings to Vienna by ship were seeds of Drosera capensis and Drosera cistiflora. These are the first plants we can find in our inventories, which you can see on the right side of this picture. This is the great inventory made by Boos in 1799, and there you can find these two plants. So Drosera capensis and cistiflora, the first carnivorous plants here in Vienna. Despite the European species of Drosera, but we have no records of these plants. This is also a very important inventory for us. This is an inventory handwritten by a gardener named Karl Diesner. Karl Diesner was a good man in his work, and was also in charge for the care for the carnivorous plants with another guy, Josef Laschke. And in this inventory, we have a lot of carnivorous plants. The collection grows quite fast in this time. This inventory is around 1900. And in the, I'd say 20 to 30 years before, they managed to collect a quite big collection of mainly pitcher plants, a big collection of Sarracenias, and also a big collection of Nepenthes, also some Droseras and Utricularias and all the stuff you want. A lot of the Nepenthes and also some of the Sarracenias comes from a nursery in England, a quite famous nursery, Veitch and Sons. We know they bought their different plants, not only carnivorous plants, also a lot of orchids were bought there. And on this picture here, you can see that to what this leads. This is a picture from 1898, from a special exhibition in the Prater, a big area here in Vienna for recreation of the public, and also open to public. And this is a Jubilee exhibition for the Austrian Horticultural Society. And the gardens in Schönbrunn made this glass vitrine with a height over a man's size. We don't know the exact dimensions of this vitrine, but maybe 2 meters high and 4 to 5 meters in width. And in this glass thing alone, you have over 200 plants, 30 different Sarracenias, and over 50 different Nepenthes in the year 1898. These are also two older pictures out of the collections, exhibitions which were held by the gardens quite often. On the left side, a picture from around 1918. In the foreground, different Sarracenias, and in the upper area, different Nepenthes. It's mainly the same hybrids and species which you have seen before in the big glass vitrine. On the right side, also not so good in the quality, the picture, but if you can look closely to different parts of the picture, you see plants like Nepenthes rafflesiana, Nepenthes hookeriana, in the foreground some Paphiopedilum, some orchids. It's also quite typical that they combined the carnivorous plants with orchids. This was also because the Nepenthes especially were cultivated together with the orchids. In 1880, in a quite small greenhouse with only 75 square meters, all the orchids and all the Nepenthes were cultivated. This is another picture out of the collection of Kronfeld, where you can see more detail. It's better in the quality, and you have also some describing handwritten marks which plants we see here. Nepenthes is only one name here visible. It's Nepenthes paradisiae. It's a former name for Nepenthes duarti. And in the foreground, you see different Sarracenias, and some of them are old English hybrids from Veitch and Sons, like Wickliana and also Calzoni. Calzoni is a plant from Veitch and Sons we have still, after over 100 years, still in the collection. And also two hybrids named with hybrid Nova, Schönbrunn. These are some hybrids which are made here in Vienna. Here you have also an old photograph with also some of the Sarracenias in the foreground, not written down with the name. So, which hybrids were made here, and the persons who made it? On the left side, you see Anton Umlauf. Anton Umlauf is a quite important man here in the Federal Gardens and before the KMK Hofgärten. He was director here in Schönbrunn, and the young man you see in the middle is Anton Hefka. Anton Hefka was mentioned before by Daniel. He was responsible for the orchid collection and had made good work with breeding orchids in huge amounts. Over 1,700 orchids were sold in an auction because lack of place. And he was also involved in hybridization of Sarracenias, but I'm not that sure that really he is the one which made these hybrids, because the first pictures we have from some of these hybrids, this is one of these pictures. This is an English hybrid which he used for this hybridization. But here on these pictures, you see some of these Schönbrunn hybrids. On the left side, a plant called Sarracenia diesneriana, named after one of the former cultivators of Hefka. The second one is Vogeliana, also mentioning a gardener here. And on the right side, you have Sarracenia laschkai. He named also Sarracenia umlauftiana, Sarracenia Schönbrunnensis, different Sarracenia hybrids. But the thing is that all these hybrids were published in an Austrian magazine in 1913. And the picture you see here is from 1911. And you can also see these plants are quite big grown. And as we know, Hefka started with the carnivorous plants in 1911. So it's not really possible that he is the originator of these hybrids. It's more likely that Diesner and Laschke made these hybrids and Hefka only published them. This Carnivorous Plants collection has suffered the same fate like other parts of our collection. You can see here, you've seen this picture before. On the left side, the destroyed palm house, not hit direct by a bomb, but near enough that all the glass structures were destroyed. And on the right side, this is a picture from the US Air Force showing bombings here in Schönbrunn. Over 200 bombs were gone down here in Schönbrunn area, only this area. And also the greenhouses with the Carnivorous Plants collection were hit, especially the house with the Nepenthes. From these old Nepenthes plants, nothing survived. Only a few seedlings, young plants, survived these dark days. And also nearly all of the Sarracenias survived because they were cultivated in another place in the old Reservegarten. Nowadays, you see here some pictures out of the collection, some which participated on the ICPS have seen it before. Our main focus is till this day pitcher plants, Nepenthes and Sarracenias, but we have also, I think, a good collection of Droseras, mainly West Australian Droseras. And we work also with the university now in close relation together, publishing and we how should I say, the plants which they need for their works are coming often out of here in Schönbrunn. We also use these carnivorous plants for exhibitions, like every garden does it. In 2017, a big exhibition here in the Orangery, also with the GFB. On the right side, a later exhibition in the big farmhouse with our Audrey 2, which was made by a young lady which worked here in our collections for 1 year. And also here on the last page, some impressions out of our collection. So I think we are now at the end of our webinar.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for attending this webinar live. And thank you, Daniel and Manfred. If you're attending this live and you have questions for them, feel free to type it into the chat box. My name is Kenny Coogan. I'm the Education Director for the ICPS. And like Daniel mentioned, we just had our 2024 conference in Vienna, Austria. It was awesome. And right now, between now and August 31st of 2024, we are looking for a host for our 2026 conference. The 2026 conference is probably going to be in the Americas. That is what the schedule is. So we are looking for a society or a university that is located in North, Central, or South America to host our 2026 conference. And like Daniel reminded me, we just had the 14th annual, so that means in 2026 it will be the 15th, not annual, 15th conference, because we have our conferences every other year. So if you're interested, contact Brent, because he is the conference board member. The ICPS is a society of about 1,200 members that are international. We like to host monthly webinars, and we host monthly webinars when people participate, just like Manfred and Daniel. So when I was at the conference, I met a lot of people from Slovakia who are really into carnivorous plants. So for the next 2 months, we have 2 Slovakian scientists. And what was really great is I met Maxim and his wife, Monica, who are both scientists who both study carnivorous plants. And then after the Vienna conference, I hopped over to Bratislava, and then we traveled around Slovakia with Maxim and Monica. And then we also stopped by their facility. So I'm excited for the next 2 presentations. We met their chairperson, and we have lots of great presentations coming up. If you are interested in presenting for the ICPS, please contact me at kenny@carnivorousplants.org. You can be a grower, you could be a person who works at a famous greenhouse, or you could be a hobbyist, or you could be a person who owns a nursery. We are looking for all types of content, anything that will help the hobby and the scientific community for carnivorous plants. Now that, of course, is for adults, but in the past year or 2, we've created educational content. I wrote 5 animated videos, and you can watch these for free on our YouTube page. We encourage you to share them with teachers that you know. They're about growing carnivorous plants inside and outside. We also have worksheets and activities that go along with those videos. The first Wednesday of May every year is World Carnivorous Plant Day. For 2024, it was on the 1st of May, and that is where I collect around 24 videos, and we post them on our YouTube channel, and you can go over there right now and watch lots of carnivorous plant content. For 2025, the date is May 7th, and that will be the 5th annual World Carnivorous Plant Day. And for that, I'm looking for videos that are between 10 and 20 minutes. And again, it could be growers, it could be nurserymen, it could be scientists. If you'd like to become a member of the ICPS, you can go to our website, carnivorousplants.org, and then you will see that we have a beautiful full color photos of a newsletter quarterly. And once you become a member, you can archive the last 30 years of newsletters on our website. And that is a lot of content. Another benefit of becoming an ICPS member is that you get access to our seed bank, and we do ship internationally. And our seed bank is as good as our members make it. So if you have extra seeds, we encourage you to donate them because that is how we get our seed bank. What I'm really excited about is that we're going into the 3rd or the 4th year of our Carnivores in the Classroom grant. The grant period runs from August 1st through August 31st, and we provide up to 50 teachers around the world $150 worth of carnivorous plants. And I think you probably remember when you were a kid or when you first learned about carnivorous plants and then you became hooked. So what we want to do is encourage young people to get interested in plants, specifically carnivorous plants. So every year we've been funding teachers and classrooms around the world, K through 12. And for last year, 2023, these are our sponsors. And these are the nurseries and the individuals who sponsored that. So that means they sponsored between 2 and 15 teachers or classrooms each with $150 worth of carnivorous plants. And then what the teachers do is they submit a lesson plan, and you guys can go to our website, carnivousplants.org/education, and you can download maybe 20 or 30 free lesson plans that you can implement in your classroom. So those resources are free, and if you apply, you'll probably get this grant where you can add carnivorous plants to your classroom. If you are interested in funding our conservation and our education initiatives, you can go to our international store. And as you can see, I'm wearing a Baikal Karada t-shirt. You can also get a tote bag, a mug, tank tops, lots of things. And these funds, like I said, go to education and conservation. And at the Vienna conference, the last presentation was about how the ICPS is helping conservation efforts. And every year we have like a different theme. This year and last year was Sarracenia of the southeast of the United States. But next year it could be Cephalotus of Australia, or it could be Helianthera. So we could go anywhere in the world to help carnivorous plants because they do need our help. All right, and thank you for that. And Daniel and Manfred, you can unmute yourself. You can translate Marcus's message to you. And Chandra asks, some of those plants that are hundreds of years old, how often do you change the soil, if ever? Do you ever repot them? And I know at the conference you guys mentioned that there's a heavy burden, whoever's in charge of those old plants. So Manfred, do you want to talk about?
Yeah, it's a difficult topic for sure. It depends. With this is special old plant, we pot it. It's seldom it is possible because every potting is a risk, but also it's a risk to not repot it. So it depends. Some plants which are also quite old are potted, I say maybe every 10th year. It's also depends on which pot is used. It is clay, it is a wooden pot, is it plastic? We use it all, and it's also a reason why plants sometimes have to be potted. But this old plant was last potted, I think, in the 70s. Maybe in the late 80s, but it's a long time ago. But it will come the day when we have to do it again.
Yeah, like I think the important thing is that you always have to consider what nutrition need the plants have. Like the oldest in a pot cultivated succulent plant in the world is a succulent, and it grows in a very poor surrounding in the area northern South Africa to Namibia. So this you can repot all 30, 40, maybe 50 years, and it is still growing fine. We also have citrus trees that are 180 to 200 years old, and date palms. They need to be repotted all 8 to 10 years because they need the nutrients in the soil. They also, like we have quite high and chalky water, like the plants that need a sour ground have the problem that the peat in the ground slowly accumulates the calcium. So we also need to repot to keep the right pH, to keep it low enough. And for example, Manfred, this wondered me now, he didn't start with it. We still have sorts of Sarracenias that have come bred 150 years ago.
I mentioned the calzones, yeah.
But
we
they
can
need
come.
to be repotted, I think, every year or every two, 3
I
years.
don't manage it to make it every year. Normally, it's every second year, so that I report them. And it is necessary because of the chalk in the water.
Like this plant, like it doesn't look like a 200-year-old citrus tree is a big major tree, yeah. But this Sarracenias, where you have only the top of the rhizome kind of that is growing, like also the philodendron. We have a philodendron. One of the philodendron we know is a cutting that is from the original plant that was brought here in 1821. But because it is propagated by cutting, like the Sarracenias, you don't see in the plant the age.
All right, well, thank you guys. Marcus says a fantastic presentation, very interesting presentation. Thank you. And before we leave, you've probably participated in the German speaking societies, conference or annual meeting, right? But could you maybe just give a little feedback about how you felt the ICPS conference was? Because for me, it's just so fantastic to see to meet 180 people who have the same passion, and it's people from all over the world. So can you maybe just tell us how? I know it's been a month, but you're probably still recovering from the conference.
No.
It's good now. It was a pleasure. It is a joy to meet people which share the same passion for these topics, and me for myself, and also Daniel, we are people which burns for these topics. And my favorite part of the whole ICPS is the group picture in the area where the lectures were held. A lot of people all smiling and enjoying the time in Vienna, and then this is for me a big thing.
Yeah, for me it was astonishing. Like we started the preparations 2 years ago, and then when the ICPS came up, we were thinking about how to organize it, what shall be there. You need a conference dinner. What do you make for a site program? And we started, like, it was more than 13 months ago that we started to talk with the catering. Like they need to reserve the date, and we were like, how many people will come? And I was like, no, more than 100. And the colleague, the Günther Seiter for the Austrian part was like, I think 70 to 80. And the German part, Christian was like 150 for sure. Yeah. But so we asked for 3 offers, like one for 75 people, one for 100, and then for 150. But we all never thought that for the conference dinner, more than 200 people will come. It was really so great to have people from the States, from all over Europe, and over to the people from Indonesia. It was like really wonderful to
South
see
Africa, Brazil.
Yeah, Africa. And it was great to have them all here in Vienna. And as Manfred said, they were all smiling, they enjoyed, and all the effort was good for something because it was a great meeting here in Vienna.
Yes, I agree. And sometimes everybody's working with not enough staff and not enough money. But then when the conference comes, everybody is reinvigorated because everybody has the passion and everybody gets excited again. And like you're mentioning, it takes a long time to plan a conference, and that is why we're ending the bid for the 2026 conference now in August of 2024, because you need to book the locations and the field trips and the banquets and things like that. So if you're listening and you are in the Americas, North America, Central America, or South America, contact Brent. All right, thank you so much, Daniel and Manfred, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
It's not a surprise that gardeners, educators, and scientists are fascinated by these unique plants. The International Carnivorous Plant Society, or ICPS, not only love these plants, but welcomes growers just getting started all the way through professional scientists. The ICPS even started an annual World Carnivorous Plant Day to celebrate them. The free online event is held the first Wednesday of May. Take a look around our website and you'll find historic documents about carnivorous plants, growing guides, free educational resources, and more. Have questions? Ask. We don't bite, but our plants do.